Yeah.
I think they don't know. Like,
do you think
it comes back to
I think some of them
yourself though.
No, I think some of them, to be honest, I think some of them I want to
they're
tell
just
them.
stuck.
Yes. No, not even stuck. There's a difference between being stuck and not even knowing. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those that are stopping by for the first time, my name is Oluwajoba, and today I have with me my friends. On my right, I have Bumi Awe. She's a medical doctor.
Hi guys.
And on my left, I have Kunle Lasisi. He is a customer success and account manager.
Hi guys, thank you.
All right, so today we'll be talking about toxic relationship, as you guys must have seen from the title, and we'll be trying to discuss it, make some points out of it, and I hope that you guys enjoy this one as well. All right, so guys, so Bumi, what do you think? What would you call a toxic relationship?
I think it's like open to interpretation depending on who is in the relationship.
Okay.
But I personally would think that a toxic relationship is any relationship that doesn't have those major ingredients that an healthy relationship should have, or a healthy relationship. And that would be compassion, respect, communication, and the willingness to see your partner like happy.
Do well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Kunle? Okay.
Yeah, Bumi is very right with what she has said, and in addition to that, I would also see a toxic relationship as one in which there is competition.
Okay.
Yeah, there is competition, and then there is no support for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of elements that show toxicity. In a relationship.
It's really nice that you guys mentioned support, because I think it's a very, very key in being, like Bumi said, that wanting to see each other do well, basically. Mm-hmm. But would you say there's a difference between a toxic relationship and an abusive relationship?
I think that there's a borderline, like it's a very blurry line.
Okay.
Because a toxic relationship is when somebody obviously like are doing things that are detrimental to their partner.
Okay.
But I think when it becomes abusive is when it's a conscious decision to do those things. Like when you're deliberate about the things that you're doing. Like you're deliberately cheating on your partner to get a reaction from them. Like you're deliberately eating them knowing that it will cause them pain.
Okay.
So I think that is when a toxic relationship is
different.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting, actually.
I kind of look at it in a little bit different light, in the sense that since a toxic relationship is one in which there are disagreements, there is no support for each other, you just see that there is strife.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it means that one person is not outweighing the other in the relationship.
Okay.
It's not working out.
Okay.
But for abusive, it stems more from trying to coerce one, having control, having power over another person.
Okay.
And this could be as a result of manipulation and the likes. So you see that in toxic relationship, there is no subject.
Okay. Okay.
Both parties hold their ground, while in abusive relationship, then somebody is like a subject while somebody is in control.
Okay.
I kind of disagree there.
Actually, to be honest, even before you guys spoke, like seeing that you guys actually think, for me, if I was asked, even till now, I think I would say that you can use them interchangeably. For I don't think, personally, I don't think there's a difference between a toxic relationship and an abusive relationship. I think that they are one and the same. But
I disagree because I do think that, for example, you would say that a relationship is toxic like if your partner like doesn't communicate with you. For example, you want to talk to them about something happened, but like they just close down.
Okay.
It could be that that's how they were brought up, right? And there is somebody that knows that you want them to talk to you, but they are purposely not talking to you in order to get back to you.
Okay.
So this is where I feel like there's a difference.
Like, in
toxic relationship, it could be that that's just how.
So you're saying that in a toxic relationship, it feels like it's not deliberate, and then abusive is more deliberate than.
Yes, I think like what there are a lot of characteristics that you can use to interchange them, but
Exactly.
I think that for abusive, it's actually a deliberate action by
action.
one of the partner or both of them in order to like get like that physical or emotional like effect
on their partners.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Okay.
And we can definitely categorize both of them as unhealthy relationships.
Sure.
But they share similarities with some certain signs, whereas in some cases, abusive is on the extreme side.
Right, yeah.
And that's the point you're trying to drive with that.
Yeah. Okay. I think, to be honest, I think it's quite enlightening because, like I said, I would have just said, relationship, an abusive relationship, because if it's abusive, then it's toxic for you. That's but it's nice to see like another perspective to things, and but if you were to see someone who was in a relationship, and how do you think they would know that they're in a toxic relationship? How do you recognize it? How do you know that okay, this is toxic, this is just
I think the signs are endless, depending on like whether it's a physical or emotional. Mentally.
Yeah.
But personally, and this is an advice I also I give my friends.
Okay.
If you're in any relationship and moving into that relationship, you were happy, you were mentally like okay, and you get into that relationship and you know you're losing yourself,
and you're feeling drained,
and you're unhappy. There's no reason for you to be there.
Okay.
There's something missing there. And I think one thing that is more important when you're in a relationship is that you have to love yourself enough to know when somebody is not loving you enough. So you have to be self-aware. Like if you're self-aware, if you already know how a man is supposed to treat you, then you know when they are not treating you that way. And that way you can just recognize
this is not it.
Especially like when you see a red flag, it is a red flag. Leave it, move on.
Just like the thing they say that there's really no smoke, without fire.
Yes, without fire.
Yeah. Those are really, really salient points, because I think it's actually really important that you love yourself. I mean, the Bible says that love your neighbor as yourself. You need to know how to love yourself to be able to love
of course.
your, But Kunle, what would you say about
signs,
recognizing, knowing, being able to say, this is a toxic. No, this is not for me. This is a toxic relationship.
Yep. If we're looking at signs for toxic and abusive relationship, I want to believe
because we're going to put them together.
We're putting them together right now. There are so many of them, just as she said. But some things to look out for is that one person is not communicating, and there is already communication breakdown.
Okay.
You don't want to engage. You don't want to talk. And once that is going on, there will just be a lot of assumptions that something is happening or the like. And then you could start hearing statements like, I love you, but, or if you don't do, then I will not. The conditions start coming into that relationship. Like if you don't do this, I will not do this. And then you can also see that the most common ones will be physical violence, and sexual violence. And people, these ones are easy to spot because if somebody beats you, then you know.
Definitely.
But those other ones are quite silent. They don't want you to meet their family. They don't want you to meet their friends. They don't want to hang out with you, even though they're in a relationship with you. It can go a long way. You may feel, he's busy. You may even find excuses
for him.
For those.
Exactly.
And then another thing is, everything is your fault. And
you start blaming yourself
for everything.
Everything. Because I also remember going back to the point that Kunle made, that you begin to make excuses for them. Not even just mental abuse, even physical abuse. We've seen men, who say things like, it's my fault. I was one that annoyed him. I was one that did something. I deserve the beating, These are, like you said, these are things that when you see, you know that, okay, this is definitely, and like you said, he doesn't respect you. He doesn't want to hang out with you. He doesn't want, you to meet people. And most importantly, he doesn't want you, you are not happy. I mean, before I got to this relationship, I was happy. And then I'm all moody, what's the English, cranky and all that, you know. Yeah, so.
And I also like to mention that sometimes like the signs are actually very subtle. Like it could be people don't know that they are being like emotionally like abused. Like when your partner is picking your clothes, and you would interpret that easily as, oh, he likes me, just want to see me like dress well. But he's just having control over every action that you make, like secluding you from your friends, so that you're dependent on them, and he can only control you. Yeah. So like I said, like it can be subtle that like you can't say it, like, but if you already know who you are, like if you already like
understand yourself. So I think the basic thing is understanding yourself, knowing that okay, this is the kind of person, which boils down to I think one of the past these things that we've had, if you've not checked it, it's myths that I've heard about marriage. I will leave it linked in the description box, and I'll link it up here. In that video, I talked about the fact that you need to be able to love you need to be able to understand yourself, appreciate who you are before you can either go into a marriage or go into a relationship, because that way then you would appreciate that person even more. Exactly. And then whatever the person does and reflects on you, you understand it better to know that, okay, this is how I want to be loved, or no, this is how I don't want to be loved. I can't be loved this way. Yeah? All right. So what do you guys think one can do if one finds herself or himself in this kind of relationship?
Maybe I can go first on that one. Basically, yes, self-awareness is key. Like if you're aware of yourself, you tend to know when you're being abused, because you know you've lost your happiness, just as you mentioned to me earlier on. And if it's more like a courtship, and if it involves physical abuse, you know, there are levels of abuse as well. If it involves physical abuse and it's courtship level, you know you don't want to go into marriage with that person. And at that point, you just quit. However, if it's a marriage and you see all these signs that you're being abused, then you could first of all try to talk with your partner. Communication. Hey, I don't feel this is right. And if there are no changes, you can try to get help. And if it's not working with external help, then perhaps quit. Some people lose their lives by monster husbands. And that's just it.
I also agree that you should communicate, because a lot of people don't even know how they act in a relationship based on like the society and the environment. Somebody that grew up watching their dad beat their mom wouldn't think anything is wrong with it when a man is beating them. So like I do believe that once they are aware and educate themselves, it's always important to educate yourself outside of your society. Once you're already self-aware and you know that this is wrong, you can talk to your partner. Maybe they don't know
that it is wrong.
Try to educate them, and they also have to be willing to change. And then you guys can move forward. You can go see an expert. But I think that most importantly, whenever you see that you're in a toxic relationship, it's not easy for people to just stand up and say, I'm leaving the relationship. You have to talk to somebody. Surround yourself with like a good support system that can help you both mentally and emotionally to make those decisions.
And then as you do it, you find that you are stronger for it. Because I know that, which is something we're still going to talk about, like there are people that stay in, they know, there are people that actually know that they're in abusive relationships and they still stay. What do you think one can do to avoid being in a toxic relationship?
Still back to self-aware. Like when you know that you deserve to be treated with love, with respect, and you already know the way you want to be treated, then you wouldn't go for it. And I think that you should always date somebody like that has similar goals and values
with you.
Like you can't be a Christian and date a Muslim, for instance, and be angry that it's angry with you that you don't
go to the mosque.
Because you guys don't have the same values. So I think that if you date somebody that believes in God and know that you shouldn't treat your woman like that, it wouldn't. And that wouldn't happen. And I also think that it is very important as well for you to like set a very healthy boundaries in any relationship that you're like, okay, this is not the line we're crossing. This is the line we're gonna cross. Like,
this is it.
This is it. like once that is LD, like I think you
and just to buttress your point, Bumi, that is not to say that you need to have like a modus operandi, like a list to say, okay,
of course,
do not know. When you, like she rightly said, when you have someone that shares the same value system with you, some things just align without necessarily having ballpark modus operandi list, if you understand what I mean. So being able to understand that this is what I stand for as a person, and it boils down to what we said initially, like you need to love yourself, you need to understand yourself, you need to experience who you are. That would help you understand whatever love that this person is giving to me. Because if I don't even understand how I want to be loved, there's nothing that you do that would seem right, or it would feel like I would receive any kind of love, even if it means you beating me up. And then when you keep telling me that as I'm beating you, it's because I love you. So Kule, what you...
Another thing we should consider in this case is that in most cases, people don't even know they're going into an abusive relationship. And that's because people can pretend and then reveal themselves when they feel they've gotten what they want. And if somebody is in love, they show their nicest part, and then you just feel, oh, I've found someone who shares my dreams, and then suddenly
it just changes.
After courtship for like some years, you just start noticing some things, and that's where self-awareness comes in. Like, these things were not there before, and in most cases they are not even there. You don't see them easily. You just see a trait, and you could perhaps say maybe it's a one-off, and then the next thing it's repeating itself. And if you don't address it quickly, you just stay there or something.
But if I want to, I have something just came up in my mind, or let me say I have a question. I understand that people like pretend in relationships. A lot of people pretend in relationships, and like you said, when they get what they want, then you begin to unveil them like onions.
Right.
And every day is a new chapter. Every day is a new. But the question I have is, how can you avoid that? That's the first question. But I also want to answer the question if that's possible. But what's coming to mind as I speak is that my brother used to say something. No matter how much someone I know that some people are really, really like dead good at it. I know. But I still feel that no matter how good someone is, you, like you said, you still pick up some things.
Yeah.
Like the person might not beat you. The person might not. I don't know. Like I think it boils down to that same self-awareness. Being able, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just jogging in my head that no matter how much you want to pretend, you might still see something. Which is why you don't want to be an island when you are dating someone. You don't want to just say, okay, it's just me and Bumi and every other person can go to hell. Because in the midst of talking to somebody, in the midst of relating with somebody else and say, so yesterday Kunle asked me out, who is Kunle? There's this guy that I met. Somebody will know somebody that will know somebody. And somebody might just come and just say, which Kunle? Down, and you just hear something from somewhere. So I think it boils down to that self-awareness and the fact that you shouldn't be alone, like you said. Have a good support system in the midst of it. But we know that there are people that they are in this and they don't know that they are in this. What are your thoughts regarding that? Because
they're ignoring the right.
Do you think they're ignoring?
They are. I think they don't know. Like,
do you think
it comes back to
I think some of them
yourself there.
No, I think some of them, to be honest, I think some of them I want to
they're
tell
just
them.
stuck.
Yes. Not even stuck. There's a difference between being stuck and not even knowing. To me, I know that I know. If I'm in a relationship and it's abusive, I know. The person beats me, I know that is wrong. Do you get? I feel that there are some people that I think they know.
The people I would say don't know is those who grew up in a normalized abusive system. Just as you mentioned, that they've seen their father beating their mother.
No.
So they just feel, oh, it's normal. Maybe if a woman does something wrong, that a man can beat just to correct. And they felt it worked for their parents. So even though their parents stuck together and their mom received all those beatings all those years. And they just felt it's okay if my husband beats me. You understand? That's a normalized abusive system where people have accepted it
as a norm.
You know, when you've accepted something and somebody's trying to tell you otherwise, you just feel no, you don't understand.
Yeah, but that's what I'm still saying. They know. They just have accepted it as a norm.
That's the thing.
Know.
Yeah, that's normalized abuse.
But I think another thing that makes people stay in toxic relationship or abusive relationship is the fact that they don't think they deserve better.
Yes.
So, and as we were talking, I just remembered this movie that we watched. She was in an abusive relationship, and when I was saying that they didn't know, I just kept seeing her picture in my head, where she was just sitting down and she was crying. The guy had just finished beating her and abusing her, and she just sat down and she was crying, and her friend came to meet her. Now, she didn't stay in the room. She went to hide somewhere to cry, to, feel sorry for herself.
Right.
It was in that closed door that her friend came and was like, this is where you are, what's wrong? And the friend was like, oh, he's beating you again. And I was just thinking in my head that for her to go behind closed doors, it means that she's ashamed. She knows that it is wrong. Yeah. But she doesn't think that she deserves better. Because in that situation, if you tell her that somebody can love you, and I think it also boils down to maybe, like you said, growing up. When you see someone that is doing well and you see someone that has so much, and you don't have anything to offer, and you just feel that because I don't have anything to offer, so nobody can love me for who I am actually. Because I am, for example, maybe I don't want to use any profession because every profession is, this thing is in its own right. But no matter how stupid we think that profession is, that person might be thinking, how can a lawyer, for example, or how can somebody, an MD, love me, a common whatever? So I also think the reason why they stay is because they don't think they deserve any better. And so that's why they keep taking it and keep. So I think I'm a boomer.
They know, but they have low self-esteem.
Yes.
That's part of it.
They know.
Another reason why people will just still get stuck in such relationships is fear. The fear of what the partner will do. Like they're just, most especially those who have been abused physically. They're just like, I don't know what he will do if I tell him I'm no more interested.
And
I'm leaving.
It could.
But I think that's where the support comes in.
Exactly. So some are just alone on their, as in by themselves, and they cannot reach out to other people to even help them.
Yeah.
And just as you mentioned, some have that shame.
Yeah.
That they don't want people to know that they are
this is what they are going
an
through.
abusive relationship.
Which is what most of our parents did, to be honest. I'm not saying that. I'm not one to say break marriage or break this thing, but there's a saying or whatever. Now who they are alive, they married.
True.
I will translate it, guys, if you don't understand pidgin. But like you say, a lot of people have lost their lives in all of this because of abuse. Because I want to stay here, so that the society does not say I don't know how to keep a man.
Right.
Do you understand? So
I would also like to add that sometimes it's also because of the idea of love. Like they think that's, at least they're getting a reaction from their partner. Like at least he loves me. And it is, like I said in the beginning, like it's always important for people to know what is actually supposed to be in an healthy relationship. If you know that respect is supposed to be there, like compassion, like trust is supposed to be there, then you will not prioritize the idea of love over like respect. Because then if you do that, you would accept him cheating on you. Because you'd be like, I mean, he loves me. Like, let me just stay. He loves me.
And this idea that I know that some people say that when I'll use a man because I'm a woman, when your husband or when your partner cheats on you but doesn't allow you know. So if he cheats on you but not to your knowledge, then he respects you.
Right.
That's another terrible thing that people have taken as the norm. You hear something like he cheated, at least you don't know about it. When he comes home, he still, or when you guys see, he still takes you. What kind of no, it is wrong. Well, I'm saying it to people. It's wrong.
Absolutely wrong.
Absolutely wrong.
Another reason why people will be stuck in an abusive relationship is lack of resources.
Okay.
When people are not financially independent, so they trust their partner for all their provisions. Yeah. So once it's happening, you're like, who do I go to? Where do I go from here? So we stay till die.
I'm telling you, we die here.
we die here. So and that's where, and for abusive partners, they recognize this. They know they are the source of, so they hold onto it. You remember when we defined abusive, we said somebody is in control, and is exercising that power. And that could just be the power for some people, that they are the one that call the shots. They are the one that determine which car they are buying, which estates they are going to live, and all those kind of things. So it's a very, very important thing.
So things that we've talked about toxic and abusive relationships.
I think before you go ahead, one that is very important, we live abroad. So we are Nigerians in diaspora. Immigration status can also bring about abusive relationships. I think we shouldn't shy away from that. There are people who have found themselves in such situations because of papers, where they are abused because they just want to stay in and then get a documentation. So I think it's good we mention that as well.
We've talked about some really salient points, but I want us to mention again the points that we talked about abusive relationship, why people stay in this. The reason is anybody might be watching this and want to tick some things off their list. So we're going to just quickly mention this point again and then we'll move on. So I remember the last thing he said was immigration status.
Yeah, self-esteem.
We talked about self-esteem.
Fear.
We talked about finances, being independent.
And being secluded, like when you don't have that support
system. Yeah. And we also talked about your background.
Normalized abuse.
Yes, normalized abuse. But we also talked about being able to do your research and know that there's a way to love. Nobody can love you by beating you. It is wrong. The person is not your mother or your father.
Nobody.
Because even your mother and your father, there's a limit to how much they can spank you if they have to.
Of course.
Do you get? But when you beat, when you abuse verbally, let's not also forget verbal abuse as well. It's not just emotional. There's verbal abuse will bring out the emotional part.
Talking down on someone, putting
them down. These are things that you don't want in your relationship. These are signs that you're in a toxic relationship. Now that we've talked to ourselves and everyone watching about what to look out for, why people are in toxic relationships, it would be nice to also talk about what you would want, maybe your family or yourself. What would you want to see in a healthy relationship? What relationship would you want to be, and then you'll be like, okay, this is definitely my relationship. William, would you go first?
Yes. First of all, I would say I would like a relationship where there is support for each other. So when both spouses or friends support each other's dreams
and bring each other
and that's a very key thing. And I would say cohesiveness as well.
Being in
agreement. He said, can two
work together
except they agree? So that's the key. That's where to start.
What would you?
Communication is a big thing for me. I think it's very
massive.
I think it's very important to be in a relationship whereby you discuss the good and the bad. Like what you want is clearly stated, so that your partner can know what they're doing wrong or what you need them to do. And I also think that a relationship whereby you guys' priority is to see one another happy is very,
very important. I don't think there's a point that is higher than the other. I think that everything in encompassing makes a very, very whole relationship. I mean, seeing yourself happy, respecting. I think respect is also key. Respecting yourself. So I think support, which Kunle has mentioned, being able to see each other happy, being there for each other, supporting. I think that support is just
it's everything.
It's everything. And I also think being able to also accept. Will I say criticism? And I think at most the Bible says that to cap it up, everything is love, because if I'm in a relationship with Kunle and I want him to be happy, it is because I love him. It is a projection of the love that I have. And this is not even just relationship, even your normal everyday life. You should act in love. You should want to see somebody happy. You should want to. You shouldn't be happy that somebody is beneath you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we will also quickly do a rundown as to what signs to look out for to know that you are in a toxic relationship. And I would say, first I would say verbal abuse. If you are being verbally abused, then that's a sign that you're in a toxic relationship. If you are not respected, if he doesn't or she doesn't respect you for who you are, then you are most likely in a toxic relationship. Kunle, what quick points will you give us?
Physical abuse, and we know there are so many people who are actually victims of this. Others could be subtle, but physical abuse, physical violence in relationships can lead to serious injuries, damages, and death. So it's a strong point I try to hold on to. And another one is hypercriticism. Like there is nothing that you do that is right.
The person always wants to bring you down.
You don't put the toothpaste well. You don't put the remote control well.
You don't flush well.
There's nothing that you just do that is right. Like it's something to actually watch out for as a sign.
And I think that would now take you to the person being emotionally abused and just mentally everything, because once someone starts bringing you down every time, then you just lose the sense of who you are in the first place.
Yeah, I think mine is kind of similar to what Kunle said, which is like if your partner is continuously bringing the mistakes from your past, every time there's a disagreement, like that's what they bring up, like
that's wrong. No.
Yeah, and also like if they are always in a competition with you, like that is not healthy at all. Or they want to have control and always want to have the upper hand.
That is not healthy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've done a bit of justice. We can't mention all the points, definitely, because we are not an island of knowledge either. And that's why we would want you to also get into the comment section and drop us some points, some things that you think we should also look out for in a relationship, and other things that you think we didn't mention in toxic relationship that you think are really important to mention. Thank you so much, guys, for always hanging out with us. If you are watching, please like this video if this video was helpful, and don't forget to subscribe. It's literally free, guys. Please subscribe and join the family. Thank you so much once again, guys, and until next time, Jesus loves you.
Bye.
Bye.
See, Kunle.
See?